Hey, everybody. Thanks again for checking in with the Convicted Podcast. I've got Thomas here with me from Secret Keeper and from the company Vratim. So we talked a little bit after our last podcast that we had together, and we decided that we wanted to have a little bit more of a discussion, a little bit off the cuff, off the guideline of the podcast, to be able to talk about what it's like being in the music industry, being in a band, and then running a business that ties in with being in the music industry as well. So, Thomas, would you mind sharing a little bit about your company and how that ties in?
And how it ties in. All right. Well, my company is called Vratim, and we make clothing items and shoes for musicians, with our main sort of flagship product being a shoe that we specifically designed for drummers. So to meet the needs of a drummer with grip, lightweight, durability, all of that. And it was like a family business that we started. I was very fortunate to have my family want to be part of it. So it's been very nice having their support throughout my musical career and throughout this business venture. And it's just been making clothes and shoes for musicians just happens to work really well when you're in a band, because I'm a musician as well. So it tends to go hand in hand a lot of times.
Definitely. So I remember you telling me a little bit of the story of Vratim and how like you decided to make drum shoes, because I think you shared there were some interesting experiences with your drummer, and you decided, okay, we're gonna make some shoes and like figure this out. Can you share some of that story?
Sure. So years ago, I was in not the current band. I mean, I was in a previous band that wasn't as great, so we'll not mention the name of it. But our drummer played barefoot because he liked having a good sense of feel, good connection to the pedals, and a lot of other drummers play barefoot or play in their socks. And during one practice, his toe got caught in the pedal chain, and it was just a really bad time for him. And it was not
Ouch.
yeah, it wasn't fun. So it was kind of, from that experience, kind of went, well, there should be a shoe for a drummer. And at the time there was, but it wasn't exactly like, it wasn't what I thought it should be. I wanted a shoe that you could wear every day. You could also wear behind the kit. It had to look good. It had to meet all these different criteria, and kind of brainstormed on that. And then my dad had got laid off from the Space Center. It was around that time, about 5-6 years ago now. And we were just kind of, he had a lot of time. We were looking for something else to do. He was kind of done with doing the whole engineering in the aerospace industry. And they latched on to my idea, and we all worked together. We all designed together. I put in my own money into the business. They put in their money. It was quite a cool joint effort to get it off the ground. And we did all the different meeting up with manufacturer and doing all that. And we got to where it is today, all because of working together. So it was really neat.
Very cool. So you said that was from your previous band that you had that experience, and that's when it started for you?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So when did the company officially start?
The company officially launched in December of 2013, and probably had the idea probably a year, 2 years before it actually became a real company. So there was a bit of planning, of course, for the company to get it to the point where you launch, as with anything, whether it's a band or anything of that nature. But it was a lot of just thinking, just brainstorming, thinking of how could it be, thinking what would the company be, what would it entail, like how extensive would it be. It was just a lot of thinking and plotting and planning before actually pulling the trigger on anything.
Definitely. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like you've had some experience in the music field in your band prior to the idea of the business. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So something else that Thomas and I agreed to was we wanted to share a beverage at the same time. So we both went ahead and got some. How do you pronounce this? Is it Jai Alai?
High lie.
High Lie? Because I always felt like I said it wrong.
Highlight, like the sport where they have a big long
I didn't know
arm
that.
thing and they throw a ball.
That's what that's called?
Yeah, it's highlight.
It looks like kind of like curved, and they.
Yeah. Yep.
I know of that sport. I don't know how to.
Yeah,
play
I know
anything.
of it, and I know how to say the name of it. And then I saw this, and went, oh, that's named after the.
Okay, so yeah, that's from Cigar City Brewing, which is in Florida. And so
Yep.
that's another Florida
Support local
business.
breweries.
Yep, we got Vratim in Florida. What city is it based out of for you?
For Vratim, we're in Merritt Island, Florida, which is the same place where they launched the rockets and stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, that's why did your dad move there because he was in, you said NASA, I think it was?
He worked for a contractor for them, but he's actually just lived here his whole life, except for the
Okay.
first like 6 months of his life. He was born in California, and then they moved here.
Gotcha. I'm gonna open that real quick.
Yeah. I'm pouring mine in a glass because I'm not a heathen.
I know. I don't have any here with me. At home, I always keep my glasses chilled.
Mine was chilled until we
snob-like, you know.
talking.
So yeah, this is an India Pale Ale. So it has some hop kick into it. If you like IPAs,
Yes.
if anyone's listening and wants to check that out, it's High Lie from Cigar City Brewing. They have quite a few different options. And no, they didn't sponsor us. We just decided to do this, and because we wanted to support something local and share a beer. So,
but if they'd like to sponsor this podcast,
by all means, go for it. We are definitely open to it. We will have one every time. So anyways, I mean, I've been in a band for quite some time too. So I'm in Fourth Teller, the lead guitarist, and so I'm trying to think what the history was, because officially we became a business January 2015. I think we've been a band since 2014. We started as a band called I Shot the Albatross, and then we shifted into Fourth Teller. We kind of just moved the direction into that. Pretty much it's all the same people or whatever. And so like when we started doing the screen printing side, first we were trying to do it just to save money for the benefit concert series organization that we were doing with the Noise Box, being able to print for the staff and for events and sell them and raise money for different things. Someone gave us just a little tiny one by one, and that's how we started. But then we realized, okay, wait a second, we know bands and we're in a band and we can print merch for them, and it seems to work. So we had some people that were willing to let us test with them while we were learning. I think one of them was do you remember a band called Lambs Like Lions?
Yes, I do.
With Josh Bolby in them.
Yeah.
So like they let us help, and I know that some others did too. It's hard for me to remember who all it was, but so yeah, we definitely saw that, like, hey, we could work with a lot of bands doing this. Like, we're trying to do a lot of band stuff. Why don't we do that? So it tied in perfectly with that. So I mean, I think that's part of the reason why we wanted to have this conversation, was to encourage people. Hey, if you are in a band and you want to utilize your network that you're growing, because hopefully you're growing a network, so that way you can land some sort of job or career, probably in the music industry in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be that you own your own business by any means, but like that's something that you could do, because I know that a lot of people are on the road and they're doing photography or graphic design, screen printing, drum shoemaking. Everybody's doing that now.
Everyone's making drum shoes.
Are there some other ones that you can think of off the top of your head that people are doing when they're on the road?
I know if you're not trying to, maybe you don't want to do your own business per se, but there's a lot of people that'll do like transcribing. Cause you get audio and you transcribe like a paragraph of audio or whatever, and you send it back. And,
very true.
So you can do that on the road. It's not like super lucrative or anything, but if you need to make some extra money while you're on tour, that's a very like good option you can do. You can go to a Starbucks, get Wi-Fi, transcribe some stuff. Let's see what else. Kind of going along with photography, some people do videography. Some people specialize more in videos than photos, and it opens up a whole different sort of, not really market, but like new doors that you might not get as a photographer, because there's a lot of photographers today, and if you start doing video with your photography or just video by itself, it kind of sets you apart from everybody else, I think.
Definitely. The funny thing is
game streaming, some people do that on tour as well.
Oh, on tour?
Yeah.
Really? Do they
Like if
do
you
it
bring
somehow in the van with like a hotspot or something?
not so much on a hotspot. Usually when you go to the venue or wherever there's free Wi-Fi, I know some people have like a gaming laptop and they'll do like a quick little stream or something. Or if you're
Really?
a bigger
That
band
makes
like
sense.
Issues, they took their entire TV and Nintendo Switch and played Super Smash Bros. And stuff
Oh, awesome.
out on the road. But that's a whole different level of stuff there.
Definitely. So yeah, I think it's a really important to be able to say like, hey, if you're in a band, and you're trying to think about like, okay, well, we're just starting, we're not making that much money. Because like when you're starting, you're not making much money. I mean,
No,
sometimes you make money
not
based
at
on the
all.
pre-sales you sell, and maybe you get like $2 a ticket or something like that. Maybe somehow you'll sell 100 because it's a really big show or something like that. Um,
Right.
and then that's $200. So you can't do too terribly much with $200 by itself, other than maybe get some more merch to hopefully sell online or something. Um, but like if you are trying to make more money for yourself and the band, like those are some things that you could definitely do. Is like, how do you utilize that network? Are you doing photography or graphic design or any of these things that we're talking about here? And I mean, I would love to hear, and I'm sure Thomas would too, if you put in the comments like whatever, if you do something that's on the road, we would love to hear about that, especially if it's something that we haven't listed, because by all means I would love to learn about whatever else is out there
Oh yeah.
and be able to support you guys in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, Tom, our drummer, he and the other co-owner of Convicted Printing, he actually does some video work while he's on the road too. So like he will message bands before, like if we're going on tour, he'll try to find the different event pages, be able to message the bands and say, hey, just let you know, I'm in one of the touring bands. I happen to do videography. Here's my profile. And if you want me to do a live video of a song, like he just videos a bunch of different songs that they play, and then he just puts it all into like a one song
Mm-hmm.
like
Yep.
video or clip or something. He has different options for depending on how much you want to pay for the different things. But that could be like a great thing to do, and that honestly that helps a lot of bands too, because that's what's cool about working with the music industry is like, yes, you're trying to make a living on those things and try to raise money, but you're also helping the people that you're providing this to. Because a band that needs a really good video, maybe they've never had that video before. If you're able to contact a local that's there and they've never had it, and that might boost their attention because you can give something like that to them. Did you want to add something to that?
No, that was all really good. That's really cool that he does that. And I completely agree. You can do these services that you're making money, but you're also helping other bands. Whether it's like I'll do graphic design, not so much on the road anymore, but a lot of people that I've met on tour, I have done graphic design work for them because we've made that connection. We spoke, we talk on Facebook, they say, oh, you do some design work. And a lot of the bands, maybe they needed to rebrand or something. They're trying to get to that next level. And I was able to do a service that I'm capable of doing, and it helped them out get to that next level or something like that. I used to do a little bit of photography as well. I don't think I'm that great a photographer personally, but if some local bands weren't able to afford a really good photographer, and I was able to kind of just help them along to keep their momentum going with my ability, until they were able to make that little more money to get to that next level, to hire the better photographer, to hire the better videographer, and kind of go from there. So there's definitely, you don't have to be the best at anything. You can just try your best and work your hardest, and I think you can you're helping out other people while doing something that hopefully you enjoy doing as well, like photography or anything like that. And it
Mm-hmm.
kind of all goes hand in hand because you benefit from it monetarily and other bands benefit from it because you're helping them achieve that next level, hopefully.
Absolutely. And something that might hold some people back is if you're trying to move into some sort of work while you're on the road, and you might think like, oh, well, there's a lot of photographers that are out there, and there's a lot more photographers now than there has been in the past or whatever. So I mean, some of it can be a little bit competitive, but at the same time, if you are just being consistent in providing something more your style, because what I've seen from most photographers is they usually have some sort of style that they have, and maybe that's something that the band is looking for. And you can just keep trying. And honestly, this is something that can definitely help fill in the gaps while you're on the road, because, if you book a shoot for someone for $25 for that night, it's much better than getting $0 that night.
This is true.
And it's something that, you can be really creative about it, because if you know that a band might not have that much money or whatever, you can say, okay, well, let me make you a deal. Let me give you a few something, whatever you are providing, and you could say, but let me like put my name on with it, type of thing. Because that's something that we've done with the screen printing. Is like we've done discounts for like printing our logo like on the sleeve for them. So like it would be their merch, but like we would just have that on the sleeve, and that helps us tremendously. Because I remember like we've had someone tell us before, like, wow, I looked at my closet the other day and it looked like almost every sleeve I had was convicted printing, which is a really cool like compliment to get from someone. So just be creative with it as you're going. I mean, if you're trying to pursue this, it helps pay for things while you're on the road. You can keep eating. you can maybe pay for the next merch you need.
Money on the road too. You can trade your services for food or for merch or anything like that. It doesn't have to always be money, because like you're saying, some bands might not be able to afford it. So you can certainly do something else. Maybe it's as simple as they let you stay on their living room floor and you took some photos of them or did a design for them or what have you, anything like that. So there's definitely don't think it's only about money per se. You can definitely get other things out of it, hopefully, that might help you and the rest of your band out be more comfortable for the night or something.
Absolutely. Let's talk about how it's important to network with everyone and not make sure that you're not burning bridges. I know that's a little bit opposite of what we were just saying, but I'm saying that for a reason, because like it's important to network and continue to build bridges as compared to not networking and just being there, so you can be at a show while not really engaging with anybody. And you could totally slide by with that while you're on tour if you want, by all means. But who knows? Maybe you're going to meet somebody there that is a booking agent that you're looking for. I think I just talked with a band. They're called Head High. They just told me that they were at a show, and that's how they met their booking agent. They were playing at that show and met them. And then they became, like, they got on that booking agent's roster, and now they're going on tours.
That's great.
You have no idea. You have no idea who's in that crowd. You just don't know. And you can't judge a book by its cover. I'm sure you probably heard that before. But, like, you really can't. So meet people while you're there. It might help your band. It might help whatever business you're trying to do, or it might help build a contact for you when you're trying to get a job somewhere. Like you don't know. So I just think it's important to network while you're on the road, regardless of which direction you end up trying to go. Yeah, or you can go all of them.
Completely agree. Do all of them. Do everything. Be as busy as you can be and do all the options.
Absolutely. I mean, some people really enjoy doing that. And by all means, if you're a person that does not like having a ton of things on your plate and you want to just really do really good at like one or two, that's fine too. Whatever works for you. Like, don't overstress yourself by any means. Like, a lot of people have looked at me and said, Ryan, like, aren't you like stressed out all the time? I'm like, well, I mean, I think it's good stress. I enjoy it. I like being a part of different things. I like being part of a venue and part of a band and part of this and part of that and part of... I mean, sometimes it becomes a little overwhelming, but then I just take an off day and get right back at it. Yeah, I'm really excited because it's so funny, because when you're a part of multiple things, if that works for your brain, when you're a part of multiple things, you're able to say, oh, I have an idea for this, and you kind of like jot it all down, and then you just go, oh, I was thinking about this other thing, and you kind of just jot it all down, as compared to trying to like fully focus on one thing, and maybe you like lose your track on that because like your mind might wander. But if your mind's wandering to a different thing you're working on, then you're still doing productive things.
So then it's okay to like, get distracted. sort of.
Absolutely. Oh man, the only time it's bad to get distracted is like when you're, for us in the print shop, if we burn a shirt. Uh,
Oh,
like we leave it under something too hot for too long, like, oh no, smoke starts rising. I'm just kidding. That rarely ever happens. But in the past, we've learned our lessons with
I have a
accidents.
question
Everyone
for
does.
you.
What's up?
Do you ever, since you are a man of multiple things, much like myself, that you're involved in, do you ever get an idea for one company or band or what have you, and you don't want to take it to market, so to speak, with your other ones? So you test it out with the other thing first, like because Seer Keeper started in earlier 2013 before Vratim started. So a lot of the stuff that we did with Vratim, I trialed with Seer Keeper first, like testing out a print shop or something. I think I did the same thing with you, actually. I did Seer Keeper with Convicted first, and then went to have Vratim do it. So I did, like, because I love Seer Keeper dearly. I feel it has more wiggle room with things
It can be
sometimes.
on the front line.
Yeah, and whereas Vratim is the business that has to be perfect all the time, because you.
Gotcha.
So I tend to do that. Do you find yourself doing something like that as well?
Well, I mean, I feel like we've done tests on merch things that we could make and whatever for like Fourth Teller. And then we could say, oh, see, we can do this. We have done it. Here's some pictures. Or we've had like friends in different bands that they said, we want to try this thing. It's like, okay, we've never done that before. We'll do it at a lower rate with you because we know you. You can't complain if it gets a little messed up, type of thing. But like, so like, I definitely think there's like times for testing things if you've never tried it, you know, like if you've never tried something, sometimes you need to give something away for free, you know, because then you know you can do it. And if it came out with good quality and you gave it to the right person, that might really boost what you got.
For
So
sure.
something to consider.
Yeah. Well, there
That's
is
what
one
I
advantage to
think.
having a business and a band that are both in the music industry together, that work together very well. So you can
Absolutely.
match some ideas together.
Especially when your business is tailored towards helping bands.
Yes. Yes.
Like I don't think you're intentionally selling drum shoes to I don't know, like just trying to think. A pressure washing business. Like you're not trying to sell those shoes to like that thing. Like you're really tailored in, you know, obviously to the music industry. And so like that's something that we've chosen as well with convicted printing is like, okay, well, since almost everyone on staff is in the band or at least knows Fourth Teller in some way, shape, or form so far, then we've tailored everything towards bands as much as we could. Like it's almost like a from bands for bands type of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, well, we've been down that road. We've had to experience merch. We've been on tour. We know that it's important. Oh, you're going on tour tomorrow? Well, here's what we can get for you because we know how important merch is. We've had that happen before too. Because we know how crazy it can be sometimes with planning and everything, and then something falls through and just chaos ensues. But we try to make it less chaos for them.
I think we do the same thing with Vratim. We and I think that is another benefit of, if you are in a band that tours and is very, very active in a band, you understand what it's like to be on the other side of trying to deal with a company, and you need something now. Like for us, we'll have a lot of artists that maybe their shoes were stolen, which is a weird thing that's been happening somewhat recently.
Really?
Or just you misplaced them at a venue, or maybe you're a newer artist and you don't want to wait to get home to try the shoes out. You want to try them while you're on tour to test them out before you commit to like an endorsement. So we will try and work out with you to ship to a venue that you're arriving at, or to like a local UPS store, FedEx store, because they'll accept a package while you're on the road, which is a good thing to remember. If you ever need something shipped, you can have it shipped to a UPS store or FedEx store. You should call them first, make sure it's okay, but you can definitely do that.
Yep.
And that's a great thing because we understand how difficult it can be. Like if this is a crucial part to your playing, for your comfort, for anything like that. So if you need something, we'll try and coordinate it as best we can to make sure that it arrives when you get there, because it's difficult to try and get something while you're on the road. So oftentimes bands will just have to kind of accept the fact that we're not going to get this, and we have to wait until we're home and miss out on, in our case, maybe you don't play the set as well. And for maybe like a printing company, it'd be, well, we're not going to have our merch on this tour because this company doesn't want to ship to, or try and accommodate us or something like that. So I think that is a cool thing to know what it's like to be in the trenches, so to speak, and try and like not make life as miserable for when someone else is in the same predicament that you've been in before.
Absolutely. It kind of reminds me of like when you hear of people treating retail workers well, it's like, I wonder if they worked a retail job before too, because most people who have had retail jobs treat retail workers better.
Yep.
I can't refer to a study necessarily, but I'm sure there's been some study on that.
Probably.
That you could probably find empirical evidence on it.
I wonder if there's a study on, like, if you've been a server before, and I was a server before, I usually stack my plates up on the table, put it like near the end so they can quickly grab them when they're busting the table. I wonder if that's a thing too.
Well, I haven't been a server, but I definitely do that because I know it makes their job easier. I don't know. For me personally, I always like to think about, okay, well, how can I make the next person's life a little bit easier?
Yeah. Wherever
that is. How can I set up the next person for success? Whether that be at work or somewhere else random. Like, now this might be a good example of like if I've gone to Starbucks, because I worked at Starbucks for 4.5 years. If like,
oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I did actually. So that helped me like build relationships with people as well, because I could work at the different stores. I love doing that personally.
That's cool. That's really neat.
And so like if I see the handout plane where you pick up the cups and there's like straw wrappers because they just drop it off and they don't throw it away for whatever reason. I don't know why. Like if I'm getting my drink, when I get my drink, I grab my straw wrapper and then like the 2 other straw wrappers that I would see, and I just throw them away. It's just like, it's one less thing that someone else has to worry about.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple task, and it doesn't really add anything else. And it doesn't take away from my day, like by any means, to do that. You'd be surprised what you could do for other people and how much you can encourage them by a simple little act of service once in a while.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think doing little things like that, I think, are noticeable by people, and especially in like music industry, because the music industry is actually really small. It's not nearly as big as some people think it is. And oftentimes you're probably like 2 or 3 people like that that someone else knows away from someone that's like very high up in the ranks of the music industry. So doing those little things consistently, whether it's helping out another band, whether it's just making life easier for somebody else, people will start to see that. And as you become more popular with your band or your business, even whether it's anything like that, people will take note of it, and it'll travel through the grapevine and kind of get out there, and people will be more inclined to work with you because they know who you are based on this like testimony from other people, from doing these little tiny acts of kindness or just making life easier for people, I think.
Absolutely. I think that's like super important to note that, though, because I don't know if people realize how interconnected the music industry can be. Yes. Like sometimes you might come across a promoter at some show that you're on tour, even if it's a small one, and they might have more connections than you realize. It's just it's always good to be on your A game,
Completely agree.
Whoever it's with, it's kind of like the concept of like, if you are performing, like I believe, and I think a lot of other people believe this too, but if you're performing for yourself first because you're passionate about it, probably.
Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully. Excuse me. Hopefully that's the first thing. Second off, you're performing for whoever is there because they're willing to at least give you the time of day to listen to your message. Yes. And that could even be the workers, the bartenders, the waiters, wherever you end up playing. You don't know who's listening. They might just be listening and passing, and maybe you'll say some lyric that, makes them think about something, makes them want to engage with you in some way. So like, you just got to be careful because you can't like complain about things. Like maybe there's not as many people at the show as you wanted to. The promoter
Right.
maybe didn't do that great of
Yep.
a job or whatever. Do you know how bad it would be if you got off stage and said something negative about the promoter and the right person heard that,
Yep.
which could have been anyone there because you don't know them because you're outside of your
Mm-hmm.
normal what's the word I'm looking for, outside of your normal environment that you're used to, and they report that to the promoter, and now that promoter is connected to other people,
Yeah.
and now like this whole state you are basically blacklisted. And yes,
Yeah.
it can be that simple.
Yep. It very much can be that
And I'm
simple.
not saying everyone's like that. I'm not saying all promoters are picky like that, but I'm just saying that sometimes it can happen, and maybe they're having a bad day for whatever reason, and maybe that's what led up to not being a good show, and
Yeah.
then you crap on them, and they're not going to enjoy that. They're not going to want to work with you. I mean, if people crap on you, do you like working with them? No.
For sure.
So yes, always be on your A game. Always try to make everyone else's life easier, even if it's weird. Because what I mean by that is, have you had times, Thomas, on tour where you're just like, this is a weirdly set up show. You're like, why is it like this? This is
Yep.
different. Like, nothing makes sense. I don't have the information. Wait, so we're going on first? Why? What? How? Oh, we're on in 10 minutes and we don't have anything out of the trailer because we were told later, and now we're up.
Yep.
That's not the time to get mad at people. That's the time to go, okay, and then try your best to do whatever is given to you. Because if you bend over backwards, at some point that will be recognized, especially if you go there continuously. So if you're in the same state again, how that word might go around, and now people know, like, okay, they're willing to do whatever it takes. Cool, they can play this bigger show when they're coming through or whatever. So
yeah, we've had a couple instances over the years where we would play. It'd be on tour, and as shows often go, they don't go as planned. And we had to. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while. It was either we had to play earlier, or maybe we were even playing later. It was something kind of weird, and we adapted to it. And the show was kind of just a weird, like, off thing. And we did all right merch sales though, which was really cool. And we thought the show was just going to be like just kind of bomb, but we did good merch sales. The promoter kind of apologized for the weirdness that had happened, and we came back, and we had a great show. We came back because the promoter remembered us, that we just kind of rolled with the punches and did what we had to do, and we got invited back. And the show we got invited back to was greater. It was much better. It worked how it should have been. So it was just that one day there was just some weird thing that happened, and we went back and had a great time the second time around. So you never know. You could have it's just always be nice, be willing to work with people, make lemonade out of the lemons that you were given.
Yes. Because those few split seconds that they have interaction with you can really change whether they like you or they don't like you.
Yes, for sure.
Like just a few seconds, a few words can really do that. And I know I might sound a little exaggerative with it, but with some people it really is like that. Not everyone's like that, but there are some people that it could really mess up some things for you if you just if you're being a brat about it, I guess.
Yep.
Like for lack of other words to say.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you have to figure, if you're, say, a promoter, for instance, and you deal with a lot of bands, and really at the end of the day, you're just another band that they're working with. You're nothing really special, unless you are very big or whatever, but that's beside the point. And they're only going to talk to you for a couple minutes out of the time you're there. It's going to be probably before the show, maybe in the middle, and then at the end of it when you're settling up. And that's all the interaction they have with you, and they're going to make a judgment on you based on that little bit of interaction. So you should try and just be a nice person, because you never know, like we were saying, they could have a good connection to something else that helps you in the future, and or maybe not help your band directly, but they're they have another connection for some other business venture you might want to get into, that because you never know. People do lots of other things aside from just going to shows and being a promoter or being in a band at a show. There could be other band members that you interact with at shows that, and you being a brat, maybe the local band goes, oh, well, we don't ever want to play with them again, kind of thing. So you have to be careful because you're only interacting with these people for a very short amount of time, and you might not ever see them again. You might see them again, and just that little interaction can sway what they think of you. So you need to be pretty careful, I'd say.
Or something that could even be worse is like if that local band sees you do that and then they shift towards doing that, and then the promoter is going to be all the more upset with you because you taught a negative behavior to them. Oh, I don't know if many local bands go to every touring band and admire them in that way, but it's just something to think about. People are watching, whether it be the other bands, the fans, the promoter. People are watching. And also, like, if you're trying to do the business thing with the music, that's going to impact that too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's one of those things where it's like, if you're in a business and you're in a band and your band is not playing at their A game, and by A game I'm talking like how you interact with people, getting your stuff on and off the stage, not being a burden, that stuff. Because if they're not being on their A game and you're running a business that's connected to the music industry, you might have to go, hey guys, we need to work on a couple of things because this could negatively impact what I'm trying to do if we don't change that. So just a thought,
Yeah. I'm guilty of that maybe a little bit, because I know, not being the person that's making my own business bad per se, but I've had someone submitted an endorsement application. This must have been about 2 years ago now, and a friend of mine, I had heard the name before, so I asked, and I'll often do this too. So if you submit an application to Vratim, I will ask other artists that you say or who referred you, and see what they think of you, or if you actually know them and they actually did refer you. But
that's a quick clue, guys.
But I had a friend that knew this person, and he said that this individual is just not quite, there's just something that wasn't good about them. So I said, okay, I will trust your judgment because you're my friend. And he did not get the endorsement because of that.
Wow.
And that's just how I don't have, because you're trying to make your business, your band, be the best that it can be for other people to recognize that. And you have to be careful when you're endorsing people, because they are a representative of your company. So I didn't want to deal with or have the time to deal with this person if they were going to be weird about something or whatever. So we just kind of said, no, we can't have you as an endorsed artist. Here's a discount code anyway. Thank you for applying, but we can't work together, kind of thing. So that
Makes
happens
sense.
too. And other bigger companies do the same exact things, whether it's Ernie Ball or Vic Firth or anything like that. If they will ask other people, and they will put you in a trial period to see how you are, and they'll look at everything. So even if you're trying as a band member, as an artist, trying to get those endorsements, those connections that you make will go, and they might affect you in other ways than just your band as a whole. Maybe you individually, maybe you leave one band and go to another band, but because of your reputation from the previous band, it follows you around wherever you go. So
don't be a curse.
Yes. Don't be a Jonah.
Oh my gosh, seriously, don't do that. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I'm really glad that we were talking about these different things. I really think that these are a lot of things that need to be discussed as a band, type of things. Like,
agreed.
And especially if any of you are in a band and you are trying to do something with like a business aspect of it, or like independent contractor side, I guess you could say, with it. Sure. Just be open with your bandmates about it. Yeah. And bandmates, don't be judging about it. Be supportive, because you can do both. You really, really can. And it just might shift how it looks. It might shift how band roles work while you're on the road. Because, for example, if we get to a venue and Tom ends up getting video contracts with the 2 or 3 local bands, we might get there. He has to bolt to be able to get over there.
Yeah.
He can't help unload anything.
Yep.
you know, and like that's something that we've had to talk about. It's like, no, that's fine. When you have that issue, you go take care of it, no qualms.
That's awesome.
You
That's
know,
cool.
but if you don't have to do that and you don't help, there's gonna be some qualms, you know.
Don't be that guy that the band hates because you never helped. Unless you have a good excuse.
Well, my excuse is I'm a vocalist. I'm just kidding. No actual diss to vocalists. That's just a stereotype, because some vocalists are very helpful, and like our vocalist David, he helps unload and stuff, and he sets up the in-ears on the stage.
Nice.
And then during like the middle section of our set, our rhythm guitarist, he does like a speech. So he takes the mic, and then David, our vocalist, he goes ahead and switches out the guitars, because that's when we do a tune change. And so he gets that all taken care of, ready for Justin when he comes back. And then it's like just a swap off.
Nice.
So we were able to make that
his job away and get some drop tune pedals. Then you won't have to do that anymore.
It's not the same. Oh my goodness. You know what? You could just do backtracks.
You could just backtrack everything. Don't play. Just look like you're playing.
Backtrack drums. Backtrack the vocals. You know.
Yeah. Just put the CD on. You don't even need to like play. Just like go there, put the CD on,
and then just put on a show. Get all your inflatable guitars and stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like that's something that someone would do. That reminds me of
I Set My Friends on Fire.
Yes, that one. What was it? Sex Education or whatever?
Yes, yeah.
That's such a funny video. If you guys have not heard that, look it up.
So
Sex Education by I Set My Friends on Fire.
It's telling our age by that we know that.
Yes, it's a hilarious video, especially if you're a little bit on the younger side. Like if you're under 20, you might not have heard that song.
Probably not. Yeah. Ooh,
so, but scary. It's a staple, I think. But yeah, so let's go ahead and bring this to a close. I really think this was a good conversation. I think we got a lot of topics in here about running a business, and while being on the road, you know, be able to like do them together, you know.
Yeah. Behavior on the road and factoring in business connections while on the road. All of it. It all goes together.
Always network. Even if you don't have your own business, always network. You don't know what's going to happen. You just don't know. It might help you with a job or something. So just do it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Thomas, for chatting with me about all this. And I really hope this brings some value to some people.
Yeah. Anytime.
All right. We'll see you next time, Thomas.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Just want to say a huge thank you for listening in to the Convicted Podcast. It means the world to me that you've taken time out of your day to listen in. I really hope that the information that we talked about, the conversations that we had, are going to be helping you. If you have any questions, or if you have any comments or anything that you've been applying that's been helping you, please comment or message us or let us know in some way. That way we can start talking about those things as well. If you have any questions to implement into the podcast, we would love to start doing that. Also, huge announcement, we are sponsored by Vratim. They're an awesome company. They make drum shoes and other apparel for musicians of all different types. Check them out. They have a special surprise for you if you follow the link that's in the description to go to their website and check out their stuff. But again, thank you so much for checking into the Convicted Podcast, and we'll see you next time.